Thank you everybody for joining. Thanks particularly to our panelists for today. Today is a rather exciting discussion because in this session of Quantum Pulse, we are going to be talking about quantum chemistry. And this is especially important because I think one of the most natural um, uh, applications of quantum computing is said to be quantum chemistry. But then there is a lot of nuances in the field that we will understand from the experts today who are our panelists. So just to get started, Dr. Hariharan, maybe we can start with you. Can you please introduce yourself, your area of expertise, what you do? And then we'll go one by one and I'll get started with the question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Priya, for your kind invitation and for this panel. So, I am Srinivasan Hariharan. I'm an independent researcher and consultant. I'm based out of Leiden in the Netherlands. I work with organizations for proof of concepts and implementations, creation of roadmaps of application of quantum algorithms for chemistry primarily, and a few other domains as well, because most algorithms are very similar as an algorithm. And primarily, I'm a computational chemist by training. I have more than 15 years of experience in modeling both energetics and dynamics of heterogeneous catalysis reactions using traditional quantum chemistry as well as quantum computing methods. I'm also passionate about teaching. So in the first edition of the Masters in Quantum Computer Science at the University of Amsterdam, I designed and taught the near-term quantum computing course. So with that, I also have the university teaching qualification in the Netherlands. So yeah, that's about me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Ghosh?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am, first of all, thanks QETCI for arranging this amazing session. And this is a really good topic to discuss. And thank you for inviting me. So, hi, I am Sumanta. I have completed my PhD from Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, Kolkata, in quantum chemistry with expertise in the wave function based methods. That said, here after that, I have joined QPI AI and I am working as a technical manager of quantum chemistry research. I am translating my knowledge working in the intersection of QC and QC. The both QC means one is quantum computing, one is quantum chemistry. Over the last few years, my focus has really been how we take ideas of quantum simulation, find practical application, not in theory, but in workflows that a chemist or an industrial persons can relate to. That's a brief introduction of mine.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And Turner, would you like to also tell us a little bit about your work? Oh, you're still muted, sir.
Jai Hind everyone. I'm Colonel Sai Shankar, founder of a company called Q Clearance Quantum Lab Private Limited. Thank you, QETCI, for making this for asking me to join for this talk, and a very relevant and important topic. So I will try to see how much maximum I can contribute to the session. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Colonel Shankar. Okay, so we can start talking about quantum chemistry. Dr. Hariharan, you've mentioned two keywords, it's that quantum chemistry and quantum computing. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a confusion on what exactly these two terms, how they overlap and how they intersect. So in one sentence, if you could describe what quantum chemistry is to somebody that's never heard of it and how quantum computing is relevant to it, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I thought about it and I'll really keep it to one sentence. So, using physical principles or laws and mathematical methods and computer codes to understand chemical reactions and also to predict the outcomes of these chemical reactions, everything on a computer. That's what quantum chemistry is all about.
And this computer can be a quantum computer or it can be a classical computer. Do
Yeah,
both
this
fall
can
in
be,
the...
yes, this
Okay.
can be any computer. Classical processing units these days, graphical processing units, GPUs, as well as quantum processing units, QPUs.
Okay. That's a really nice, concise, easy to understand definition. Dr. Ghosh, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I mean, if you concentrate on the terms of quantum chemistry, is a branch which deals how molecule behaves and how the subatomic particles, like we call electrons, how they interact. But if you concentrate on the first letter, quantum, so the principle it follows are governed by the quantum mechanics. Like in classical mechanics, particles have well-defined positions, but here the subatomic particles are described by the probability distribution function at wave function. The wave function provides information about the probability of finding electron in a particular region, and the quantum chemistry deals with these kind of situations.
Okay, so it seems like we interact, at least in this area, quite richly. Colonel Sai Shankar, is there something else that you would like to add to our understanding so far?
I think both the participants have rightly brought out what exactly is quantum chemistry is all about.
Great. But so because Dr. Hariharan
దీంట్లో
mentioned. Sorry, Colonel, were you saying something? Okay, I think you will join us then. But so there was the mention of quantum computers, classical computers, within classical computers, CPUs, GPUs. Why will we ever require quantum computers in the area of quantum chemistry? Do classical computers not suffice when we're talking about simulating or understanding molecules?
Yeah, this is a very important question to address because the key word here should be certain or specific. So when people talk about quantum computers being useful for chemistry, it's not for every chemistry problem that's around. So classical computers have been very successful, especially the density functional theory, to describe most of the problems that we have in terms of drug discovery and some of the catalysis as well. So, so classical computers are going to have done an amazing job. They are going to be relevant for a long period of time. No questions about it. But now, if we look at a specific set of problems, which we call the strongly correlated problems, that is where quantum computing could be very useful. And if you look at overall chemistry, there are just two components, right? One is the Hamiltonian, which describes the interactions. Another one is the wave function, which describes the state of the system. That's all about it. So all the research that have been going on is to do something with this so that we can do something efficiently, put it into a computer and get some useful output. So when we talk about the wave function, for certain systems, the state which is described by the wave function, which represents this chemical species, could only be described by a combination of electronic arrangements. So basically superposition of states. So the fundamental bottleneck or wall, as you may call it, is that this combination of electronic arrangements that increases combinatorially. So when we have a certain number of electrons and certain orbitals, as we call it, basis states, if you will, for physicists and computer scientists. So the number of spaces, let's call it, that its electrons can occupy combinatorially increases. And for exact methods like the full configuration interactions, which people are talking about right now, the number of this increases combinatorially, and so it increases so much that we will not be able to store in the currently available classical computer. But the quantum computers, using quantum computers, we can represent and manipulate these wave functions using superposition, and also without explicitly needing to store these configuration as classical data. So that's where. So it's not that we can store these number of configurations, but we can produce them in superposition and we can manipulate them. And finally, when you measure, everything collapses. But this large space, which is available only on superposition, that is where the promise from the quantum computers lie.
Okay, very interesting. If we can dig a bit deeper into that, does that mean that this is not trivially a memory problem, or it's not that if we had enough classical computing memory, we would be able to do these, but it's a bit more than that, what you're saying about superposition.
Yeah, it boils down to memory basically. So that's exactly where the problem. Yeah. The memory bottleneck is the problem. We will not. Again, this is for exact full configuration interactions, but there are many approximate methods which can approximate certain things and go around this memory wall. But if you want exact calculation, especially for these kind of systems, strongly correlated systems, then that's where the problem is.
Got it. And Dr. Ghosh, since I know QPI also works on a bit of AI, and I wonder if you also do AI for quantum chemistry. Where does AI enter this picture in this computational bottleneck that Dr. Hariharan has just mentioned?
Yes, I completely agree with Dr. Srinivasan, whatever he has said. Like, classical computer are there, and they shall be serving chemistry for many years to come. As he rightly mentioned, DFT, density functional theory, or even coupled cluster theory, these are the gold standard methods which are like serving the chemist for years and years, and they will serve to years to come. But the fundamental wall, as he was rightly mentioning, was the scaling problem. The full CI has exponential scaling with the number of the electrons, and when the electrons are strongly correlated, like when there is a degeneracy kind of case, then these methods become intractable, and we heavily rely on the approximations. Like, it is not that we like approximation, but we have to approximate, because like otherwise we won't be solve these kind of systems. Let's take a scenario, a ballpark scenario. If we want to perform the exact diagonalization of a molecule of, let's say, 30 atoms, the number of mathematical operation is so huge, the total number of the entire universe will fail short. I repeat, the total number of the elements or the atoms, the entire universe will fall short. That is what exactly Dr. Srinivasan was pointing out, the memory problem. Apart from the memory problem, the approximation that I was talking about. So this is where the exact quantum computer in principle represent this wave function natively. As quantum chemistry follows the rule of the nature, these atoms or the subatomic particles follow. So in principle, we can calculate without much more approximation. And we are trying to do that in QPy AI, like using quantum. And where AI is coming, it is in the pipeline. So there is no mixing of quantum and AI. So if you want to simulate a complete workflow kind of thing, somewhere you need AI, somewhere you need classical methods, somewhere you need quantum methods. So quantum methods is currently an assisting phase, which works to refine the result, I would say. So that is why the quantum and AI kind of picture is coming into the picture. That's what I want to add to Dr. Srinivas.
That's very helpful. And what you've now said about a sort of hybrid classical quantum
Correct.
workflow, we will come back to that. That's a very interesting point.
Correct.
But Colonel Sai Shankar, I want to ask you, because I've read a few papers that Q Clairvoyance has put out about the algorithmic approaches in this field. Could you tell us a little bit about what kind of approaches are showing most promise? What exact applications are being looked at, and where the biggest technical bottleneck is? So you're muted. If you can unmute
So
yourself.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
To answer your query, let me answer like this. The exact problem that we are working is on the simulation, like both the Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Srinivasan has brought out. Okay. In classical computer, lot of approximation happens, and whenever there is an approximation, drug is not efficient in nature. So that approximation is nullified or minimized by using quantum computer. That is one thing. The second bottle, coming to your answer of the bottleneck, is that today quantum computer which are based on NISQ era, they have lot of errors into it. So this NISQ era quantum computer does not have the capability to do real use case of a drug to do a drug discovery, especially of the size when the size of the atom increases by many fold. So unless and until we do not have a fully tolerant quantum computers with a good error correction is there, error nullification is there, then only we will be able to see a proper use case of a quantum computer.
Okay, that's very interesting. Dr. Hariharan, would you like to elaborate a little bit? And I think specifically, I will ask if you could elaborate on there are certain approaches that people have been saying that could work on NISC hardware, certain types of variational quantum algorithms. You could just give us an overview of that.
Yeah, I've spent the past 4.5 years most of the time on looking at how variation quantum eigensolvers can be efficiently used for chemistry simulations on an actual hardware. But I would say the outlook looks bleak. Let me be honest, because the idea of variation quantum eigensolver first was introduced in 2014 for a chemistry problem. So, and then it got generalized to other subfields of quantum computing, like optimization. Even parts of machine learning contains this parameterized quantum circuits that one optimizes, right? So here there are three parts. One is the state preparation, the other one is the optimization and the measurement. So state preparation and the measurement happens on the quantum computer, and the optimization is purely classical. So given the number of ansatz, the wave function guesses that's available for us right now, when we increase the number of electrons in the orbitals, what happens is the number of parameters that is required to optimize blows up, and the optimization is not efficient. That's one of the things. And also, due to the nature of the chemistry ansatz, because we cannot use the hardware efficient ansatz blindly for chemistry problems. So the problem is that the circuits are reasonably deep, and it exceeds the coherence times of the currently existing quantum computers. So I'm not going to blame the quantum computers right now, but this is when we work together with the quantum hardware. I mean hardware. I'm not talking about simulators or emulators here, because that's not the end goal. So those are good for testing purposes, but since simulators or emulators are not the end goal and they hit a limit at 34 qubits, so when we run calculations on hardware, including error suppression, error mitigation, yeah, we are not going to do error correction yet, but it's not scaling pretty well. That's my experience, and that is what I think the community shares, as far as I know.
Okay, that sounds quite bleak, but we can understand this a bit more. And now that you've brought up the hardware aspect, Dr. Ghosh, I'd like to ask you if AI is working on your own quantum computer, which you've already launched. But so Dr. Hariharan said there's the circuit depth, there's a number of qubits, and there is, of course, the error rates, which matter a lot. Does it also matter how, to simplify it, how many qubits connect to how many qubits? Are those things also important? Can you tell us where the hardware is with respect to the algorithm in quantum chemistry?
Yes, the hardware's current stage, yes, they are evolving. There is evolving pace, but the problem is not a single problem. It is a stacked problem. The substantial one is obviously what Dr. Hariharan has mentioned, that the noise, because circuit depth and noise, qubit quality is also a problem. If you consider the noise of the 2 qubit gates, like the fidelity of the 2 qubits gate, it's 0.1% to 1%, 0.1% to 1%. So it sounds small, but as you mentioned, we need bigger depth to simulate a real molecule. But when you simulate a real depth quantum circuit, the 2 qubit gates, which actually mimics the electronic interaction, because the electrons are not like hard balls, they interact with each other. So we need these 2 qubit gates. But when you increase the number of the 2 qubit gates, those 0.1% error will cumulatively increase, and then the totally chaos thing begins. So quantum error correction is theoretically solved, but much more physical qubits to prepare a logical qubit. We are not still there yet, that I would say. One aspect of is also the algorithm design that lacks a systematic scalability also. it is also in an evolving pace, but it is not. It is more mature than the hardware level of execution. So yeah, this is the question is can quantum beat classical or not? It's on it's on a specific problem where quantum wins irreversibly. Like strongly correlated system, as we were mentioning time by time in photochemistry, excited state. I think those areas where it is extremely difficult for a classical algorithm to interact, their quantum can be a bet, but obviously not in Niskera, as pointed out by Professor Dr. Hariharan and other panelists also. That I completely agree with it.
Okay, all right. So it looks like the hardware is not ready yet, and we're not entirely sure of the algorithmic approaches either. We don't have.
Hardware is not ready for simulate to real uh, industry relevant molecular simulation, I would say.
Okay. Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
given this is where we are, this is the state of the domain. Colonel Sai Shankar, if you're still here and can hear us, what use cases are the most near term, would you say?
See that coming to a use case of a quantum computer, as per my knowledge, a quantum computer can do three things only very well. What they can do: simulation, optimization, and search. Other than these three things, quantum computer cannot do anything. But under one of the first use case will be a simulation only, and under simulation you can do new drug, new chemical, and new material. So if you ask me real term, real near future, I do not think so. There will be any particular use case of a quantum computer unless and until we migrate the world migrate to FTQC very fast. And in addition to this fully tolerant quantum computer, they should also come up with some unique algorithm. As brought out by panelist, VQE is not at all useful, especially for industry relevant molecule. So there are some algorithms like QPE, but this is the area of a deep research and where India as a country can contribute. Otherwise, more or less, we were just adopting whatever the algorithms or whatever the stack was available outside. Now, whatever the research is happening outside, same type of research is happening in India. So this is a very good point. So the path is not clear, and that makes it more interesting that we have to work more hard, come up with more novel algorithms, come up with an algorithm which will solve industry relevant problems, come up with a complete workflow, and come up with indigenous quantum computers like QPI is working. I think that should be our thought process and approach rather than just saying, okay, there is a no real term future is not there. I think we should work hard to make it usable.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Um, can we dig a little deeper into these three applications or use cases that you mentioned? Particularly, I'd like to focus on simulation of molecules. So my understanding is that when you simulate a molecule, which is difficult to do on a classical computer, you're able to understand its properties deeper. And if you understand its properties better, then you're able to use it either in the synthesis of a pharmaceutical drug or another or a material, or there's a lot of talk about it being applicable in the area of batteries. But all of these are different industries which are exploring other solutions apart from quantum, for instance, AI, but also other approaches. So, which industries do you believe are most prepared or are most ready to um, work with a quantum solution? Dr. Ghosh, would you like to start us off?
Yeah. So, to your previous questions, that the disruption kind of thing. So, I think that near term, this is not a replacement; it should be an augmentation kind of thing. But quantum readiness, that's the important point. In short term, pharma, logistics, supply chain, finance, cyber security. cybersecurity, finance, this kind of are not related to quantum computations. These are quantum information mode, quantum communication mode. But these kind of industries are certainly be interested about. But in long term, I would say complete healthcare like drug design, energy, material, and agricultural sector. All of this involves molecular interaction, reaction, application, this kind of thing. So they can be much more interested to the quantum algorithms person. On your previous questions, like current hardware allows the proof of concept demonstration, but industrial relevant simulation, I would say no and yes, both. No, because industry relevant molecules, we need many logical qubits and current depth, that FTQC, which is indeed coming. But when, okay, that's a different question. But a small yes, because we are not here to replace classical by quantum, and it can be well assisting that I have already mentioned. Currently, we are at we means the industries at utility scale, and here our 25 qubit system is exploring the small molecule with active space based methods. They are more technical terms, but I am using it because we are actually solving the system in a small space. We don't need a million qubits to start, to be precise. We need high quality vertical integrated system that can handle specific subroutines for the chemical simulation. And we are exactly doing that. And these are the standard industrial practices which have been demonstrated throughout the world, I would say.
Okay, that's really interesting. Maybe we can talk a bit more about these particular subroutines because they will give us some insight into where exactly quantum is helping. Dr. Hariharan, would you like to start us off with, if you could just broadly explain, perhaps taking, if it's a good idea to take the example of drug discovery, where exactly is quantum set to bring an advantage?
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, I will have to differ here. Broadly, chemistry applications of quantum computer or quantum chemistry on a quantum computer is usually looked into in two different directions. One is the drug discovery, preclinical drug discovery to be more precise, and also in modeling catalysis molecules. So if you look at the literature, there are two poster children. One is the FEMA-CO for the catalysis, and the other one is P450 for drug discovery. So because see, based on the literature, I did not find the convincing evidence that drug discovery is going to be one of the use cases, because in the small molecule drug discovery community, there is not a big requirement for to simulate a strongly correlated system. So all small molecules are organic. These are weakly correlated, and density functional theory does an amazing job. And if somebody quotes P450, then I'm going to say that P450 is something that's going to be helpful in understanding the reaction mechanism, and that's not a primary drug target. So I'm going to keep drug discovery aside. So I have worked on heterogeneous catalysis for 15 years now. I'm going to talk about heterogeneous catalysis because that is where you see many examples of strongly correlated systems. So ideally, if you look at the periodic table, the elements that sit in the middle, which we call the D elements, D block elements, that's where those are the most interesting. Out of them, the second half of the D block elements are even more interesting for catalysis. So 25 on to 30, and then
Professor
slightly
Srinivasan,
below that.
hello?
Yes. Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes.
I have a query. As you said, I'm Dr. Pradeep.
Yeah.
But I am working in this area of this quantum computing. Drug discovery, I would say, generally the challenge is we should make safe drugs. Normally, the chemical composition of each ingredients, the proportion of combination we have to see. Supposing if you are exceeding the proportion which is manually being done, even through AI methods also. Empirically, the composition differs for a large extent. If we are able to
Yeah.
exactly use quantum in this domain to exactly
How-
assess the proportion, to see that the side effects are eliminated, at the same time, the correct proportion of the chemicals required to treat the problem, to treat the
No, the
disease.
question is how do
For
we
example,
map
I
the
can say that
proportion problem to quantum computing? That's what I don't understand.
the proportion is the quantity of the chemical being used. What I'm trying to
Yes.
say, you make a drug, a compound, it is a combination of
Mm-hmm.
different chemicals, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you're mixing it, what is the exact amount of chemicals, which proportion, which they are going to assess by some
Yeah.
formula? If
Okay.
you are able to create that and do that, if that chemicals in excess of that thing, it should not be used in such a way which will affect it may solve the problem, but it will create some other drastic thing in the organ system of a human being. You need to design
Okay.
a drug which is going to be safe. Exactly, like
Okay.
even it does not an excess quantum does not. Up to now, the industry, the medicine industry, drug pharmaceutical industry is not able to resolve that. If you
Yeah, the
see
question is
Yeah.
which part of this
Thank
is quantum? That's what I don't understand. Like,
the
why do we need
proportion,
quantum?
the
Okay. We
quantity, how
will.
much you are going to mix both the compounds.
Okay.
But I don't
Dr.
see why,
Sorry,
which
thank you
part
for
of
the
that is
question.
quantum actually.
It's
Still.
okay, but we can keep
Well,
this track
I'll
for
tell
the
you
yeah,
I will tell you the
yeah.
example why I think heterogeneous catalysis is more relevant example because, like I mentioned, this D block elements, the single metal catalysis era is gone. People are looking into combination of elements. In that case, when we move from one element to two element to three elements, so we call it binary alloys and tertiary alloys, ternary alloys, whatever we call it, that's where strong correlation pops up. And that is why FIMOCO is being one of the examples because you have seven iron atoms in one molybdenum atom. This is acting as a metal center, and on which the nitrogen dissociates, hydrogen dissociates, and forms ammonia after going through a certain number of steps. So when you look at these kind of systems, and also we need to understand that molecules need to react. So it's not only absorption, it has to break bonds. So in this kind of complex electronic structure, which results from the combination of different metals and also the incoming molecules, which may or may not transfer charges to the surface, that is where strong correlation becomes more important. The multi-reference theory or multi-configuration theory becomes more important. That is where quantum computing could be useful. And again, for the entire system, we are not going to use quantum computer. We will choose a part of the system which is strongly correlated, and we use an approach called embedding, and we are going to embed this part into a large bath kind of system place, which can still be treated with DFT or other methods, which is less expensive methods. So basically, what we have to focus is that the parts which are strongly correlated, which could be offloaded to the quantum computer or GPUs, for example, and the rest of it can be dealt with GPUs or CPUs. So we don't, even when we have fault tolerance, I don't see the need to put this entire system to the quantum computer because that's going to be too expensive. We will still be going ahead with embedding based approaches. So that's my
Okay.
stake, and I would be happy or open to hear what use cases, why people think that yeah, in small molecule discovery, drug discovery, quantum computing could be more useful.
That's an interesting question. So we will actually, Colonel Sai Shankar, if you have anything to add to that, about if you're approaching small molecular drug discovery and as a response to what Dr. Hariharan just brought up.
Ma'am, Dr. Hariharan has completely elaborated and very made it crystal clear where it quantum computer can be useful or cannot be useful. But how science progresses and how science changes, that only time will tell. We never know when the LED came into existence, people were very skeptical what will be the use of LED. But how people are using LED in many ways, so that it depends upon the ingenuity of the innovators. Now, coming to my understanding is that I'm not a pure research guy like Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Srinivasan, but as per my understanding, whatever is there as that, lot of core approximation is presently being done by during the drug discovery process, like protein ligand interaction or anything. And if we want to eliminate the approximation process and we want to increase the efficiency, there will be one particular use case of a quantum computer. But only I think time will tell. So that is what I want to add.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. Dr. Ghosh?
Actually, that was my area of query also. What I was asking also was similar to what he said.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, we will get back to that in the Q&A. Yes, Dr. Ghosh.
Yeah, so whatever Dr. Srinivasan has said is perfectly fine. My point was, yes, catalyst design and these kind of things have strong correlation, and they need special treatment to solve these kind of things. So my thing is like when there's a complete process of drug discovery kind of things, you need to draw the what kind of what should I say, the potential energy surface, like the reactants, transition states, products. So there what happens, there a lot of bond stretching and bond formings, these kind of things clearly happen. And when there's a bond stretching and bond forming kind of thing happening, there is a lot of degeneracy appears. And when the degeneracy appears, the strong relation inherently come to those situations. So yes, maybe quantum computer is too big to use there, but still, when you map this problem to the microkinetic modeling kind of things to check any side products is forming or not, or this kind of scenario, the energy barrier difference will create a huge difference there. So if we can use the quantum computing to capture the strong correlation there, and if we can better model microkinetically, there in an entire drug discovery process, quantum computing can comes into the play. So that was my thing. But obviously, Dr. Hariharan's point was very vital, that whole things we will not perform with quantum with a quantum computer. Rather, we'll go to a hybrid approach, like density matrix embedding or this kind of approach. So quantum refinement will be there and classical pre-processing will be there. That was my point in drug discovery aspect, where we can use the quantum computing. But yes,
Okay.
that's a matter of research, rigorous research and development.
Okay, okay. And without getting into too much of the specifics then, this idea of hybrid classical quantum,
Yeah.
some parts of some subroutines that quantum is taking care of, and the others that were using the regular classical algorithms that we have been using, or perhaps new ones such that they are interoperable. What does that look like in practice? If you can just give us an idea, will we see that in high performance computing centers first? What can the industry expect?
So the hybrid approach was actually described by Dr. Srinivasan very perfectly. That is where you need to perform quantum computer, using quantum computer, you do that, and rest of the things you perform classically. So let me just give an analogy. You have CPU, you have GPU. So when the GPU came, CPU doesn't disappear, right? So GPUs didn't replace CPU. There are some specialized computations. CPU still handle control logic and complex branching, while GPUs accelerate high parallel numerical tasks. They both are required for the computation point of view. Here also the analogy is kind of same, where you need to treat the system with quantum computer because they need like better theory. Do quantum computer there. Rest of the things you perform with classical computer, classical methodologies like density functional theories or coupled cluster theory, this kind of things.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Colonel Sai Shankar, if I can ask you, is it trivial to do this hybrid classical quantum workflow? In terms of algorithms, what else will need to be taken care of? For instance, just from my novice imagination of this, I assume encoding is going to be a difficult task, pre-processing. So can you shed light a little bit on what aspects need to be taken care of from the algorithm side in order for a classical quantum workflow to be truly interoperable and useful? Colonel Paishankar, are you still here?
He's not here. Let's continue.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Hariharan, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah. So in terms of hybrid, I think computing is going to be hybrid. Famously, IBM has put out this plan for quantum-centric computing, and they are pushing certain algorithms towards that direction. One of the most famous ones is their subspace diagonalization methods, which is famously called SQDs. Those are using quantum computers just for sampling purposes, and then they use the classical resources to diagonalize in parts. So I think quantum-centric supercomputing is going to be at least for the next 10 years, I'd say. But even today, it is mostly hybrid, including variational quantum eigensolvers or any hybrid quantum classical methods or any embedding methods. The problem today is that the quantum component is still outweighed by the classical pre-processing as well as post-processing. So we are not able to achieve any meaningful advantage today. But moving forward, uh, when things become more difficult or more unsimulable for the classical computers, then even if the problem is small and if the problems can be solved only by the quantum computer, that's where quantum computer will be advantageous. Even if it takes longer time, it doesn't matter. But we could only solve it in certain places, for a quantum computer. So that's where we can gain advantage. But I think in for the near future, as far as I can see, it's going to be hybrid. It's not going to be a fully quantum computing for at least for chemistry, as far as I can see.
All right. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Thank you. I know that there's a lot of interesting questions that are coming up, so I'm going to try to cut short just this discussion. I will quickly jump to a sort of summary of what you've already said, but if the audience had to just take away one thing, one lesson, what would the one thing be that if solved tomorrow in the domain of quantum chemistry, would really help advance or accelerate all of the efforts that's going in? You can be as broad or as specific as you want, but if there's one thing that the audience can take away, what would that be?
Okay, I'll go. So, as an algorithm and application scientist, it's easy for me to blame the quantum hardware. Okay, when the hardware is ready, we can run the algorithms, but that's not true. Honestly, I think there is a lack of algorithm hardware co-design. So the algorithm and application people need to understand what hardware they're running the problems on, because we don't have one winning quantum computing technology. So we have superconductors, drop ions, neutral atoms, photonics. We have so many different hardware. So we don't know which one is the winning technology. So we need to understand the hardware while designing algorithm for a given application. So hardware aware algorithm design. That's what would be my take home message.
Okay, all right, interesting. Dr. Ghosh, before you give us your singular thing, can I ask you, because of what Dr. Hariharan has said, are there certain kinds of hardware that are perhaps more inherent or native to quantum chemistry algorithms? Um, and I know that yeah.
I think there is no single peak, like algorithm design as well as like the hardware implementation, uh, error correction, scaling. This thing must be a collaborative approach. Like everything should be matured. So the algorithms are maturing, the chemistry problem mapping to the quantum computers. Those kind of things should be more robust kind of thing. Uh, I think there is no single peak, but still, if you want to choose me, I would choose scaling the error correction. That will help us. Why that? Because that will help us to make a deeper circuits and more confidence will in results. That I can say. Right.
Okay. So as in most other use cases, it's really quantum error correction that we have to buck up on.
Yeah, not like only not the error correction, but
Yeah,
must be a
wonderful.
collaborative approach in multiple dimension. We have to improve. That's the
Got it. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I think we've lost Colonel Sai Shankar for the moment. So we will quickly go on to the questions given this base discussion. If you have questions, please raise your hands, and it would be nice to actually have a discussion. So we can start off with the questions. So whoever, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, would you like to start us off? Was your question answered satisfactorily? Dr. Pradeep Kumar, can you hear us? Are you still here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. No, we can have your discussion now. The question that you
Yeah,
have.
no, what
Yeah.
I was, as another colleague had also raised, see, what I was thinking is like, in fact, the drug modeling which we have done in the pharmaceutical industry was what I was thinking. Today, many chemicals and drugs have got side effects. So, I mean, we are not able to design drugs which are safe, particularly for anything. Everything has a chemical side effect and wear off at a particular thing. The reason being is all these drugs are being modeled based on a particular chemical composition which is done manually. It is not done using any automation. Of course, AI based modeling is a technique there, but again, using AI techniques also, we are not able to get the exact proportion quantity, even empirically if we check, there are some exceptions there to the model being developed. Even if you see that it will not be exactly precisely what we are getting in the experimental empirical values of what we do it in the lab. So quantum could prove as a solution where exactly you can mix the proportion of the chemicals in such a manner to exactly ensure that, because there are a wide range of things. If we are designing drugs for kids, children, adults, senior citizens, the proportion varies. You can't give the same dosage quantity which is admissible for a kid to an adult or a senior citizen. Likewise, an adult senior citizen, vice versa, cannot be given for a kid. The proportion quantity varies based on the thing and also the degree of ailment which is there. If the severity is higher or severity is thing, even if you have a fuzzy based modeling or whatever, quantum can help that out using the concept of fuzzy qubits, which what we are doing. Exactly, you model the proportion in the terms of qubits and then using some rule based strategy where you can exactly try to figure out how you can treat the problem of the disease. So this is one area which we can do. In particularly where you see that, yeah. So this I would want Professor Srinivasan's views on it. I don't know if because I've been working on this area also, but I don't know how far it is exactly conforming with the lab modalities what we are doing. Of course, it's still in infancy stage in our country at least. I don't know globally how it is, but we are not, since quantum is still not, we have started on the implementation, but still we are not getting the exact qubit model. What we are trying to do in the fuzzy qubit or exactly to pack the data accordingly.
Got it.
So,
Dr. Hariharan, you have.
Somebody can throw light on that also.
Yeah.
So that's like, for me, that sounds like a combinatorial optimization problem more than a quantum chemistry problem. I don't see the quantum chemistry part there.
Hello?
That's yeah. Hello. I don't see the quantum chemistry part there, but I see the optimization part there. But so
That is true. It is not
I'm
in the
not
quantum chemistry part, but what I'm saying is the proportion.
Yeah. So yeah, if it is an optimization problem, again, you need to see what kind of algorithm that you're looking at. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he agrees that it is just a difficult optimization
Which
problem.
I'm trying to use is using a particular.
You're breaking off a
particular
lot.
algorithm which we are using in Grover search or something.
So
Hello?
in that case, let's if you look at plainly at the complexity of the algorithms, Grover search is just quadratic
Hello?
speedup. Hello,
Yeah, we can
and
hear. Yeah. Mhm.
Grover search from the algorithmic perspective, Grover search is just quadratic speedup. So we need the problem size needs to be very large in order to see some advantage compared to the existing classical approaches. So unless and until there is
And
a
I
problem.
wanted to have your views on having a fuzzy qubit model, where the qubits modeling is not true.
I need to admit that I have no idea what fuzzy qubit means, so I will not be able to say anything about it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Dr. Ghosh, would you like to add something?
No, I do not have also the view about fuzzy qubit model, but definitely if it is a combinatorial optimization of problems, then there are multiple solvers which are not exactly quantum but hybrid quantum, like QBO solvers or QAOA kind of optimization. Those are kind of things where these optimization kind of problems can be tackled with. But definitely there is no application of quantum chemistry here as person.
To
Yeah,
add to
thank
Dr.
you.
Ghosh, QBO formalism can be solved on a special type of computers called the annealers, which
Yeah,
DJ is
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
And if you want to convert the QBO to QAOA problem, it is again a VQE problem. So
Correct,
I don't see much promise there as well.
correct. I
Oh,
agree.
okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to the other questions. Abdullah asks, my question is with the current quantum computer we have, quantum computers excel where explicit wave function representation is necessary. But given that DMRG handles active spaces of around 50 molecular orbitals reasonably well, and post-DMRG methods partially recover dynamic correlation, at what system size or entanglement structure does the crossover point genuinely favor a quantum approach, even a noisy one, or is this not feasible at all? Before panelists, before you take this question up, if you could, I don't know what DMRG is, so if you could just tell the audience broadly what this question is about. And
So basically, DMRG is density matrix renormalization group algorithms, which is a post-Hartree-Fock methods, which is fantastic for the linear kind of molecule or pseudo-linear molecule as such. But when the molecule is not linear or pseudo-linear, maybe two-dimensional and three-dimensional kind of molecules, DMRG needs a bigger M size. I think the whoever he questions, he or she understand what is M is. Yes, DMRG handles very large active space, 50 electron, 50 orbital active space. But when the molecule is two-dimensional, three-dimensional kind of structure, then the M state need to be very high to get the proper correlation of the molecules. So yes, the overhead is still very high. So in near term, like small kind of thing, DMRG is still a superior algorithms, but definitely there will be an inflection point where quantum computing maybe beat classical computer. But let's not be that optimistic right now. That's what I can say.
If I may, I have two
yeah,
things to
please.
add. DMRG is still an approximation because you have this D value. Your approximation of the wave function completely depends on that. And also, so the tensor networks or the matrix product states or the tensor based methods, the quantum inspired methods have been doing amazingly well. They're pushing the limits of the quantum computing methods. In that sense, if we want an advantage over the DMRG, it would always be the highest where the DMRG can hit. So always, whenever the new quantum computing advantage claim is published, the tensor network community comes up with an alternative method. So this is a very healthy competition, I would say. So always, if we need quantum advantage for a system, that's when DMRG fails. So that's a nice place. We're not at the moment able to put a number there
Yeah.
because there has been a healthy competition between these two communities worldwide.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's helpful. Um, another question, and also I would like to say, panelists, if you can unmute yourself and ask, that's also great. If you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself. I will move on to the next question. So could you comment on different types of embedding? Dr. Namrata asked. Is that question clear to you, panelists? Yeah, okay.
So there are like I can remember there's a couple of methods, like one is density matrix embedding theory, like DEM approach here, and there is like in-bed approach, what I can recall.
The projection based.
Yeah, projection based approach, that called the in-bed approach,
Could
projection
you
based.
comment like which one is better or the trade-offs between?
Both have their own trade-offs. Yes, DMET is more accurate, but DMET needs, I think, I may be wrong, for each subsystem, DMET needs wave function based methods. So even if you are calculating with a small active space and you are making too much of subsystems, error can accumulate. Whereas the projection based embedding, you can solve the bath using DFT methods also. Both have their own pros and cons, I would say. Maybe there are more, I do not know. Yeah.
No, so specifically, my question is like, is there something like if I have this type of material, I should choose or take up this type of embedding? Like, is there that kind of
I
discrimination
think
done?
say so, like if your molecule is like polyene kind of molecule, like these are linear kind of molecules, this is highly symmetric kind of thing, then you can compartmentalize the things like A, B, C, D kind of thing, then DMET might be very useful there. But your molecule is like highly asymmetric kind of, like if it has very less symmetry, then I think projection based embedding might be better there.
Okay. Sir, I had a question like, is there a limit on the size to which size of the molecule on which we can study embedding methods? Like, see, simulation already allows us, like as Sir Hariharan sir was mentioning, that simulation can allow us for now because we are not using physical qubits for algorithm development. Could
Yeah,
you
actually, when you are talking for quantum simulation, like quantum computing simulation, all the thing is like how many orbitals are there. So if you are including n number of orbitals in your calculation, you need roughly 2n qubits. That's the calculations generally we do. So it's not the number of the atoms or the molecular size. It's about the how many active orbitals can perfectly describe, or like maybe cannot perfectly describe, a cross section of orbitals cannot perfectly describe the whole molecule, but still the amount of the orbital to need to describe your molecules, that mimics the number of the qubits. So it's not the molecular size, it's the number of the active orbitals you are putting in your calculations.
Okay, so like the Rosmanik et al.'s paper on projection-based embedding says that like 6 orbitals can sufficiently describe. So how big can we actually go?
No. That's not a hard and fast rule. It completely depends on molecule.
Yeah, I can say two things here. One is choosing an active space is more of an art rather than science. And also embedding methods, which embedding method is the best? That's $1 million question. Nobody knows a right answer for that, actually. So I have pasted a link to the review we wrote. So there we have discussed this embedding methods in detail. Maybe you will get an idea. Every method has its own trade-off. So it depends upon the system and the computational facility that is available. And in terms of using simulators for benchmarking algorithms, like I said, you can maximum go up to 34 qubits for an exact state vector calculation. So 34 qubits is roughly 17 orbitals. Beyond that, it's very very difficult to use simulators, and even that is with high performance computers, not on our own laptops. Our laptops can go up to maybe 16, 20 qubits. I don't know today. But if you want to do again approximations, like there are many ways you can do. Which one is like not the downfolding? Other one is the IBM introduced a method, right? So you can reduce the number of qubits for a given system, but let's say the limit is 40 to 50 qubits. So beyond that, we need a quantum hardware to benchmark the algorithms. Either we need to theoretically show a scaling pathway, or otherwise we need to use have access to a given hardware.
I think algorithmic have designed something like bosonic approach to reduce the number of the qubits requirements, but that's not too much. That's
Dr. Hariharan, just one thing you mentioned, which I was very curious about, like selection of active space.
Mhm.
So is it not like if we are studying like a series of molecules which are pretty similar, and depending like if somebody rather than playing with more number of qubits takes less number of qubits and selects the active space smartly, couldn't we work off the trade-off between bigger molecule and lesser active space and still work things out with the embedding?
Yeah, we could. Well, again, this is very system dependent, and like you said, you have a series of molecules. Then it's all about the orbitals that is participating in the reaction, right? So you have to choose that. That's basically it. So there are many automatic selection of complete active space methods that's available. Open source, one can download and try to see if that works. So basically, we need to understand which of these orbitals are participating in the reaction. That's what needs to be included in the active space. That's as simple as that. But it is not as simple in practice.
Yeah,
yeah.
well said. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Main
Namita.
problem of the active space methods is like you have the qubit restraint, so you have to constrain the active space. Now you have all important d orbital. Let's say you have to take all important d orbital in your active space, but due to the qubit constraint, you cut there. Whenever you are cutting, you are taking two d orbitals and you are left out with three d orbitals. Your calculations are wrong. That you have to admit. So that is the art of active space selection.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you
We will
so
move
much.
on to the next question. And I will rephrase this a little bit if it's okay. But how does one benchmark quantum computing algorithms for quantum chemistry? That's the question. Is it trivial to benchmark these algorithms, or is it different in the area of quantum chemistry? I think this question also has the implication of if this were being used at some point in an area like pharmaceuticals, then the regulatory implications of this would be very, very important. So in that sense, where are we with benchmarking characterization standards for quantum chemistry?
So here I would like to mention two things. One is quantum computing mainly is discussed in two different aspects. One is speed, other one is accuracy. In my opinion, quantum computers could always be slow, but it could give accurate results. So if it can give better than the current traditional quantum chemistry package or the algorithm that's being used, it could. That is one way of looking at it. It is more accurate than that. Yeah, that's one way to benchmark it. So slowly, system by system, because the amount of overhead it goes to perform a quantum chemistry calculation is too large. Like preparing the system, we need to do a lots of classical pre and post processing to get the results, like understand and interpret the results. So it needs to be careful and always the existing state of the art, whatever that is at the given moment in time.
Okay,
And in quantum chemistry, always don't compare with two methods. That's that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. The next question is Abdullah asks, what is the realistic T-gate cost for a medium-sized active space calculation of 50 spin orbitals on a fault-tolerant device with the current scale of MISC devices?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
So, what is the realistic T-gate cost? I think this is a very specific question, but realistic T-gate cost for a medium-sized active space calculation of 50 spin orbitals on a fault-tolerant device. Is this something you can tell us?
I cannot say the numbers out of my mind, but from the back of the mind. But I think Google has released a very nice tool called Qualtran for resource estimation, which gives you the T-gate numbers. So one can have a look at it. I think if we go by the standards of FIMOCO, which is roughly 100 orbitals, you just half the number and you'll get the estimates for 50. And again, these are estimates. We just have to. These are not. The estimates have changed in the past 7 years a lot. Like it has drastically reduced the runtime, the T gates, everything. So it's very much dependent upon the current day's knowledge about the hardware and the algorithm. So we always have to take these estimates with a grain of salt.
And what is the ratio needed for to make a logical qubit out of this noisy qubit?
Exactly.
Thank you. Nandana asks, given the state of quantum hardware, how promising is quantum annealing for solving practical optimization problems? This is perhaps general, but then say quantum annealing for quantum chemistry. Could you comment on that? No?
No, I'm not aware of,
Okay.
at least I'm not aware of any calculations performed on an annealer for quantum chemistry.
Got it. Dr. Ghosh, would you like to add?
Me too. I am not very familiar with quantum annealer.
Okay, got it. Okay. We will do one or two last questions. Rajesh asks, does choice of quantum development language matter for quantum chemistry, like using QLAX over QETCI?
No. Quantum development? No, I don't think so.
No, that's a matter of choice, taste, hardware, whatever. Nowadays, every quantum software development kit has interfaces to different hardware. We also have, so as time progresses, people will come up with better versions of it because Qiskit was written very early. Nowadays, we have packages like CRISP, QRISP. With few lines of codes, you can achieve certain things. And if somebody who is attending this panel as well, if they can vibe code one of their own, why not?
Thank you. Panelists, we have about 5 more questions. So I will ask you, there are 3 more questions on the chat, but if participants, if you have any questions, please feel free now to raise your hands and unmute. This question we get a lot, and I have got quite a few of them, on if somebody wants to get started in quantum chemistry, where do they get started? Is it via physics? Is it via chemistry? What's a good way to start?
You can go.
Yeah, Dr. Ghosh, would you like to advise?
So let me tell my story. I have done my master's in physics, and then my PhD is in quantum chemistry. So it doesn't matter either you are physicist or you are chemist. Like just getting the knowledge is much more important, I think. I feel honestly is the communication which matters. Like I can see the physicist use the term Fermi surface and the chemist use the term homolumo. Both are talking the same things, but their vocabulary has changed. So yeah, if I had to gently push both sides a bit, physicists working in quantum computing can benefit from engaging more on chemically realistic problem, not just the toy Hamiltonian problems. And for the chemists also, on the other hand, can play more active role in shaping algorithms, bringing domain insights, how problems are formulated, these kind of stuffs. So yeah, more collaboration is needed from the scientist side, not the physics, not the chemists.
Yeah,
Really well
it's the
said.
same. So I have a master's in general chemistry, and I did experiments for 3 years, and then a computational chemist, and then into quantum computing. So I was employed by Institute for Theoretical Physics, and my office was in Center for Mathematics and Computer Science, and I'm a chemist. I was the only chemist there, so it doesn't matter. So it's all about, but yeah, we do speak different languages. Molecular orbitals for a chemist is a basis state for a computer scientist and physicist, and these Hubbard models, 2D lattice models don't work for chemistry at all. So unfortunately, so yeah, just a matter of language but it's basically mathematics. Linear algebra, I think, plays the basis, and if you can write basic computer code and curiosity, that's all.
That's super encouraging. Thank you. Abdullah, you have a question? I think this is the last
Yeah,
one we'll
yeah,
do for
yeah.
today.
So
Yeah.
actually, hi everyone. Good to see you all again. So actually, I want to stress on one of the points which was mentioned by Dr. Like Colonel Sai Shankar before. So he talked about VQE. So we often hear that VQE is a practical near-term alternative to QP, right? But at the same time, we know that deep variational insets can run into barren plateau problem, where gradients are vanishing exponentially. So I am actually very curious, like how confident we are that chemically motivated like NSETs like UCC will avoid this issue rather than postponing to larger system size or deeper circuits. That was my question.
So yeah, UCC, in my opinion, is the worst ansatz. So it's a very chemically motivated ansatz, but it has the largest depth and most number of parameters. A paper should come out soon from our group. We took the worst ansatz and the worst case scenario and did a near-term resource estimation, and it is not at all looking promising. It's like, why are we even doing this? Even for very, very small molecules on a given hardware, we have to spend so much resources to, and still could not get the right value for the ground state energy, even for a small system. So chemically inspired ansatz are the way to go. We have different alternatives for that: UCC, GSD, PUCCD, and recently IBM has come up with this JASTRO type of ansatz, which suits perfectly on their quantum computer, like the connectivity. So problem motivated ansatz might help a lot in reducing the number of parameters as well as the depth. But still, I think the parameters are way too many to optimize, and the depth is beyond the coherence times.
And on addition to that, like couple cluster answers are inherently single reference. We are we use the quantum computing approach to those molecules. Those are inherently multi-reference in nature. So using a single reference answer to the multi-reference molecule is not simply making any sense. So yes, multi-reference answer is something that definitely researchers are trying and should try. That's the additional point. Yeah.
Okay, so a follow-up question I had, like, so we also see that there is computational complexity with the scaling, exponential execution and stuff. So my question was like, can we also use methods like circuit knitting, entanglement forging, or any methods which can decrease the size of the circuit, something like that, for quantum chemistry simulations?
Yes, thanks for bringing up entanglement forging, because that is what I was looking for before when I said we can reduce the number of qubits with that IBM method. That was entanglement forging. That's one way of reducing the number of qubits required for a given problem. But circuit knitting and cutting, the one of the biggest problems is that uh, if you have a chemistry system that is highly entangled, then you need to find a place where you can cut the circuit. You cannot cut the circuit where it is highly entangled. You have to cut the circuit at the place where it is weakly entangled. If there are too many of these weak spots, then the question would be that would we require a computer? So this is a very nuanced problem to look at. So this is one possible pathway, and if hardware allows running more than one circuit of a given size, circuit knitting and cutting is one way of going forward, but it is not as easy as one can think.
Okay, Dr. Ghosh, is there anything you'd like to add?
No,
Okay. Okay, Abdullah, I hope that helps. On that note, on that very technical note, thank you so much, Dr. Hariharan and Dr. Ghosh, for this conversation. And also thank you so much to the participants for being so active and engaging in this discussion. We will see you on the next Quantum Pulse session, but thank you again. Thank you so much for making time. Thank you for joining, and thank you, panelists.
Yeah, thank you, QETCI, for this session. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
thanks from my side also.
Thank you. Bye-bye.